so much, Team Reload Greece, for inviting me here today. I think we're still in the starting phase, but I'll share you my journey so far and the lessons I've learned. A lot of people are asking me how did I came up with the idea of Netrobe, but I think what's most important is why I changed from a very fast-paced corporate environment, working in real estate, to get into the startup scene. And I think the answer to that was that inspiration was all around me. I was living in New York, and there was so many people, entrepreneurs, friends of mine, who started their own company. A lot of them, even fellow Columbia graduates, who I saw their whole journey. Some of them left their high-profile jobs in Wall Street to start. Others were just received funding to support their idea, and others even just sold their company. So when I came up with Netrobe, I thought that the best way is to take in all that inspiration and build it in Greece so that I can create that minimal viable product. The inspiration was partly influenced by a movie called Clueless. A lot of the girls might have known it back in 1995. It was a virtual closet, essentially, that you could browse through the clothes that you own online, and it mixed and matched outfits. As the online shopping was becoming a norm, I thought, why don't we have online closets as well to help us know what we own and dress more efficiently and shop smarter rather than buying the same thing over and over again. So I remember myself going home for Easter to visit my family, and I ended up pitching the idea to my father because I didn't have the confidence to go to an investor at the time. So he said, you know, this online closet sounds cool, but how will it make money? And I ended up pitching the idea that it can become a marketplace where people were selling off designer products and making it a little bit more easy and friendly than eBay currently. So that's how I started. Took a lot of time to find the right team member. Leonidas Semenzis became my founder. He's a developer in Greece who had a very good reputation. And we started off by, instead of building my website idea, starting off as a mobile app, because it ended up being the tool to help us take pictures of people's clothes. And we focused a lot on the design, tried to make it as inspirational as possible and simple to use. You could create categories and style outfits. And even we developed a technology that helped you remove the background every time you took a picture of an item. And that gave us a lot of edge. By 2011, we launched the app in September and managed to sell 6,000 apps, which for the lifestyle category at the time was it was quite a big starting point. The other good thing was that the majority of our users came from the US, and we managed to rank #1 in countries like Brazil, Japan, and Russia. And then we noticed that we have a lot of heavy users on the app. They were spending 45 minutes per session. So we said, that's cool, we have some good fanatics. And even users who were uploading even 2,000 items on the app. We were lucky in terms of press in the beginning. We got picked up by TechCrunch, and even Daily Candy voted us one of the New York's best apps in fashion. And then we came up to the point that every entrepreneur has to go through, the what's next phase. The problem here was that I started not believing the idea that I had originally pitched to my father. I started seeing a lot of competitors coming on board, and thinking that eventually the power of new is stronger than the power of old, especially in fashion and shopping. So the most valuable thing at that time was that I started traveling a lot, went to New York, went to San Francisco, and met with all sorts of people, from entrepreneurs to potential investors, even some of my competitors. And their ideas were invaluable, but they were keep coming. And you know, I was talking with a team with a 6-7 hour difference and then 10-hour difference, and I think I was driving them crazy, because every day I kept coming up with a new plan ahead. So at that point you have to filter in what's best for you, and not follow the trends actually that's happening in the industry necessarily. So at that point I decided that, you know, marketplace is over, even though it could be a strong revenue model. And what made sense for our product was to create a society around it, and turn a leaf and create a social network. So a lot of people love to use the pivot word in startups, and that's what we did. Back in 2012, we launched our own fashion social network, where people were posting what they're wearing and sharing their closets online. Our users had grown tenfold. A lot of altogether, the clothes that people posted had just exceeded the 500,000 mark. We now had a targeted fashion social community, but we knew what those people have in their closets, who they like to follow, what brands they like, and where do they like to shop from. So this summer we just launched the web application, where we ended up being a social shopping platform. And you ended up hanging items already from the web, just like Pinterest does it, but it's also actually shoppable at the same time. Here's a page of how it looks like, where you could access someone's items, the looks that they are inspired by, and even the outfits that they put together. I think the most important for you guys is the lessons learned. Although we're still growing, I think I can give you some tips in the pre-startup phase, or once you first launch your company, and at the phase that we're currently in right now. The most important thing is the idea. Try to find a need to solve a problem, but do it with passion, otherwise the journey is not worth it. A really important thing is to focus on the market. Try to focus on a market that's really big, because not only investors will be interested in it, but also your team members. When I first persuaded Leonidas to come on board, he didn't care about fashion at all, but he thought it's a $30 billion industry, why not? And also try to be your product's user. Be honest about being your product's user. You're actually the hardest critic, so that's a good one. But I think my biggest lesson was create something that people want. When I first started Netrobe, I was so into the idea, I was so passionate that I was a little bit blind. A lot of people came up to me and said, I love this, I think it's very cool, but I will never use it. And those were girls that were in fashion. And they were like, I'm actually bored to photograph everything I have in my closet. And I was a bit blindsided, because we had 10,000 users who were already registered and using it, and had cataloged 500 items in the closet. So now we've learned a lesson and we're focusing on, we've built a bookmark, and basically you add items on your closet every time you shop online. Definitely think big, but also think internationally. By launching a product with that's international, you have much more chances of marketing it and reaching out to a lot of people. If you're trying to focus on a product that's in Greece, however, try to see the bigger picture and try to make it a mass product, and not to be, and be resilient in cycles, because even if it's recession friendly, people will get tired of it eventually. And if you're focusing on a more high-end market, you know, the pie is just too small and it's not even worth it. Take time to find your team members. I call them comrades because they're the people that you go to war with, and they're the people that have your back, and they have to stick through thick and thin. And it can be really disruptive when you build a company to have bad chemistry with some of your team members. My advisor, a good friend, Netrobe, swears by this book. If you're interested in launching a product, you have to read it, Getting Real. It teaches you how to launch a product in a very lean way and not get sidetracked by a lot of products and ideas. But at the same time, if you're trying to sell a product or a service, don't launch fast until you're ready. We were selling our apps in the beginning for $1.99, and at some point our apps crashed. You know, Facebook app crashes at the same time, but it was impressive how much some customers get really heated, and they go out of their way to leave a negative review when they have a bad experience. It's so much easier to get a negative review than a positive one. So keeping your customer happy is the most important thing. And the Zappos book, Delivering Happiness, has amazing tips on how to achieve that, and it's actually really entertaining. A lot of people in Greece are telling me, you know, you've been doing this for a while, Netrobe has been running for 3 years. The truth is that our product is live only 2 years, but I was creating a buzz around it before I even launched. I built a fashion blog, our Facebook was live, and we even created profiles at competitor sites. And that helped us because we created a community and a buzz around it. And it's better than starting off and sending an email, we launched, to your best friends and your mother. So definitely do that. Now, find ways to stand out. Fashion tech has started peaking in New York. It had become the biggest cluster in the world. So for us to market ourselves, it was quite difficult to do it from Greece, obviously. And I thought that being based in London would give us a lot of edge, and it actually did, because we have been identified as one of the few fashion tech startups, and we're also closer to companies, big retailers that eventually could be partners of us, like Net-a-Porter, like ASOS, like Topshop. So focus on your industry. Another negative I had in the beginning was that my background wasn't in technology, or I had done another business before, so it was very difficult to convince people, especially investors, to come on board. So things take time. You have to build a track record. You have to have face time. So there are so many industry events that if you want to do a startup, you have to follow. You have to meet the real players internationally, not just in Greece. And you have to expose yourself to show that how passionate you are and your commitment. And these 5 points are by far, I think, the most important ones for when you grow your business. They are by Ben Periat. He's the founder of Supply, his company was bought by eBay. He basically narrows down the essential 5 difficulties of how difficult it is to recruit and find good talent, and how to keep managing people and also keep them fulfilled, and especially in a startup environment. You need to develop a work schedule that's very productive, and startups are chaos, so that's also very hard. But most importantly, you need to know how to communicate your vision. I think finally, if you're interested in starting up an idea, decide that you really want it more than you're afraid of it. I think that sums it up pretty well for me.